Leadership matters because it makes or breaks you as an individual, and it makes or breaks your individual future. Black excellence is not aspirational. Okay. It is achievable. We will not fail. We have to succeed for the sake of the next generation.
What would you say have been your biggest leadership lessons? Friends, colleagues, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Leading Self podcast. My name is Gugulethu Makletuga. I'm your host. You know, this podcast is about celebrating leadership. It's about profiling leaders who are making a difference in our society and those who've left a mark, and are continuing to leave a mark in society. Today, we are joined by one of the most successful leaders and leadership development strategists in the country, none other than Prof. Maurice Radebe. Prof is the head of Wits Business School, but he also runs one of the most incubators of leadership that is most successful in the country, Unleashing Leadership Potential. Prof, welcome to the Leading Self podcast.
Thank you very much, Kukulethu. Your name is very precious. Very precious. So this Leading Self podcast, and I trust and I believe is a very precious
Thank you.
Initiative that you've started. Thank you for inviting me in this initiative.
Thank you for your support and thank you for your prayer, Prof.
Thank you.
Prof, you are involved in many spheres today in developing leaders. What would you say have been your biggest leadership lessons so far? I mean, incorporating your journey, but most specifically now as you produce MBAs at Wits, but you produce greatness at ULP.
Yeah. Well, two things really. One is I've come to realize that leadership matters. Leadership matters because it makes or breaks you as an individual, and it makes or breaks your individual future. And I've seen this too many times. And leadership matters because it breaks families. Leadership matters because if you don't have leadership, communities get broken. Leadership matters because even organizations, if there's no good leadership, they break. Whether it's religious organizations or communities, leadership breaks nations if it is not good leadership. And countries, actually. Society. So to me, it's such an important ingredient in life as a whole that I realized, wow, over these many years, one needs to focus on it. Secondly, I've learned that, you've got to be able to lead yourself. And if you can't lead yourself, you are in trouble, because if you can't govern your own emotions, do not have resilience, do not have an ability to navigate extremely difficult, complex situations, you don't have your own anchoring as a leader, and you can't really have discipline to lead yourself and focus on your goals, you're going to have problems. So that's the reason why I focus on leadership development, both as my higher purpose and as a sense of calling.
Wow. Awesome. And we'll get into the self-leadership part, because that also is a big passion of mine, say, how do you lead yourself so that you are able to lead others? Absolutely. You cannot lead others without necessarily, having strong, attributes that keep you together. But before we get to those, let's start where it all began for you. You were born in Katlehong. In the East Rand. In your book, you reference growing up under your grandfather and your grandmother.
Yeah.
But also you talk about how impactful your grandfather was to you. Tell us about Filimon Khadv. Who was this great man?
Well, I'm eternally grateful that, I was born in Filimon Khadv's family lineage.
Wow.
This man was a man of two, if I were to describe him, man of integrity and a man of faith. So he had a huge impact in my life on two fronts. One, in terms of just teaching me business. I always say I just, by the time I got an MBA, it was just a confirmation. But I learned business by osmosis. I've just watched him opening up that shop, starting it, building it. And
I like the fact that he put a chair for you next to it.
Yeah. When I was ready, as soon as I could count, he just got me into the shop. Wow. So he would really make sure, in the olden days, do you know, pay points where you had to learn how to calculate price and then calculate change, and then you got those tills with clues that they open, and you had to take me to when he goes to stock at Macro or Metro, and he'll come back and tell me and says, we bought this Omo by 10 Rand, we want to make 35% profit. So the concept of profit, what do you mean? Calculate it, and I'll calculate 35%. Okay, let's settle it at 10 Rand 50. So I learned the concept of business, customer service. I learned running a business, managing people together with him. And the second one, it just taught me integrity. It was just a man of integrity. I mean, during those difficult times of apartheid, he faced resilience, faced a lot of challenges, but he's just stood firm. He was uncompromising when it comes to it. And finally, obviously, he was a man of faith. I saw him whenever he opened that shop, he started with prayer.
Early morning.
Every morning.
Prayer.
At the end of the day, when we finish counting cash, everything, you would also kneel and pray. So wow. I just saw him, doing that, and, I just absorbed it. Yeah.
It's as if gratitude was one of the biggest values that you saw in him and in the family at the time. Is it something that probably carries on in your life today? You are a pastor as well. So, gratitude and being grateful, is it something that sort of is a key anchor for you?
Yes. The gratitude is an attitude that actually helps you to really navigate life in a very positive way. Wow. There's a song which, as you say, says, count your blessings when you feel you are coming out, and sometimes when you feel these people are overtaking you, people are passing you, you are, you're not achieving, and you get into this kind of envy attitude, a complaining attitude. I promise you chase away every blessing that is supposed to come. But if you say just gratitude and say, thank you, Lord, that I woke up this morning. Wow. I've got health, and whatever I have now, I'm grateful about it. Yeah. Then you just open up a
slew of possibilities.
Absolutely.
But also I find, reading your book, that he was a very strong disciplinarian as well. I mean, what has discipline, or the value of discipline, sort of contributed to your life? And also when you think about entrepreneurship, when you think about leadership in general, where does discipline, come in?
I'll tell you the story of what he used to do, which is very important. On Saturdays, I knew that's my job to be at the shop. And like as a young person, Saturday, and then you go to the stadium, film, during those days, bicycles. Yeah. And you also want to go with the guys, and, and he would make sure that they track me down wherever I am. And then, obviously, those days, corporal punishment was allowed. So he would give me a big spanking for that. And after 3 times, I realized, listen, discipline, Saturday, I need to be at the shop.
Wow.
And that discipline of being there every Saturday, and I had a routine of the things that I need to take. I'm telling it stood me in boosted, because what really is made people successful? Motivation inspires you to start.
Yeah.
But discipline keeps you, and consistency to be able to follow up and follow through to achieve the objective. Wow. I've seen too many people able to start with a big fan following, with a big heart, but they don't have the discipline of just grinding, that hard work, and then put the hours in order to be able to succeed. It's only discipline and consistency that makes you to succeed. Motivation and inspiration get you to start.
Wow, powerful. And it's about staying power as well. Because I mean, in business or in a career, naturally, just to stick the course calls for a lot of discipline. Your life changes a bit.
Yeah.
When, as growing up, the family packs everything and moves to Nkandla.
Yes.
And you are now a citizen of that great village of Nkandla. I was talking to a historian recently, and we spoke about the Nkandla forest. Yeah. Where the spears of Nkosi Ushaga were made. Yes. You get exposed to the culture of that environment where young people play with sticks and stick fights. When now you don't say auction, you only know boxing. Tell us about that story and how also it influenced your thinking about strategy.
Yeah. First of all, I must say, Nkandla is a beautiful place, by the way. Wow. And most of us who grew up in Nkandla are proud of Nkandla, although now, Nkandla is a bit notorious. But let's, in fact, if I can count, I won't mention their name. Many leaders were actually born in Nkandla. There were serious leaders in this country.
Wow.
And very good leaders in particular. Yeah. But grew up in the township. There was a boxing club in the township. So we all taught how to jab and grab, how to uppercut. And I never learned how to fight with sticks. I learned there. And then, like any other young people, after school. You go to fight after school somehow, So there, after school, now I find myself in this fighting brawl, And this guy takes his stakes, and the first time I thought, let me also try these sticks, and I don't know how to do that. Yes. And the guy whipped me, and the second time I realized, oh no, I let me throw these sticks away. And he used my competitive
your skill, your competitive advantage.
My skill, I've learned it. So I would wait, the guy would raise it, and he would whip me once. By the time I whip me, I'm in, and I'm in a close combat. The guy is still holding his teeth, and I'm right close on his face. I was gonna hit him, boom. And when you're young, you just hit the nose, and the nose bleeds, and the game is over.
The game is up.
So I did that once or twice, and they all respected me. and then I learned that in life, you have to think about the game that you play. If people are playing cricket and you don't know cricket, change the game, Baba.
Change the game. Wow.
Yeah? And put it to soccer. So that's what I did. I just changed the game to my competitive advantage.
Wow.
And that's what you need to do in life. Don't enter the lane you're not belonging to.
Wow.
Use your strength. Yeah. Don't spend too much time on your weaknesses. If I'd spend a lot of time trying to learn to fight with sticks, I know now a little bit, but but I would never be the top of the game.
Wow.
But there I became top of the game because I really stuck to my lane, to my game, and I was able to change the game. The second thing also, which is much more bigger than that story, is that it taught me cultural humility.
Wow.
To move to Nkandla, because all of a sudden, just being a township boy, you think you know everything, but all of a sudden, there's so much wisdom, there's so much appreciation of nature, the way people live that are completely different. And they're understanding their values, their norms, and their expectations. That transition, because it's almost like 12 years of my life in the township, and then the 12 years of my life as a young person in a rural environment. When we went to the boarding schools, if you know, during those times, boarding schools, you would have township boys and rural boys, and it used to be a serious fight.
Wow.
Serious fight, because when you're young, it came as a guys, and there'll be fight, and I'll be the only one who can mediate between the two.
Yeah, because you had both experiences.
Yes, I'll be able to speak to the guys from the township, so we to Katlehong, Tembisa, they'll say, hey, he's one of us. And then and I can speak the accent, they say it's ours, and then I'll bring these two, and in all my boarding schools, whether it's Gamane or Marion Hill, whenever there's a fight like that, I would be the mediator. And that taught me conflict management skills, dispute management skills, negotiation skills.
Wow.
And so that experience of moving to it made me adaptable. Even when I was in my corporate life, when the companies deploy me to the different places, it was easy because
to bring people together and
and
wow.
even location. When you relocate to build, you're able to adapt with every culture, creed or race.
Wow.
And I think that's very important.
Wow. And I mean, I'm going to encourage people to actually buy your book and read some of those stories, because I just couldn't put it. I was just laughing my lungs out, especially the time where you're at boarding school, you start making trouble.
Yeah.
And your grandfather is called and he's the one who actually disciplines you. Very funny story.
He saved me there. That was also discipline making at a young age. I think I was 17 years old. And obviously by the time, 1976, 77, we're all young people. So time of 1976 uprisings. And so we all get politically highly charged. And we start, obviously, and I was leading together with my friends the strike, strike. And I can't even remember what we were striking for, because everybody's good there.
It could have been food.
And I remember we wanted to go on a trip, and the sisters and mom said no, because we said we will go to St. Augustine, I remember.
Yeah.
And then obviously, we were all disciplined, and one of the capital, we used to call it capital punishment, is to be fired at the balls. Wow, it was the most painful thing.
You are fired.
You're fired. And they fire you in style. They don't tell you because they know you're going to die. They basically tell your parents to come and fetch you. And then all of a sudden, you wake up, here's your parents, and your trunk, those days.
Yeah, the big trunk.
It's ready, they take you out. So they call me, and I to the office, the principal's office. When I walk in, there's my grandfather. I know that. I'm in tiptoe. And I said, the principal obviously lay all the charges upon him. Maurice is naughty, Maurice is in the rebellious and officers. And then he says something which to prove evidence. Yeah. He says, I tell him every day to fasten his shoelace. And look at him now, right now. He's not fastening his shoelace. So that was just concrete evidence that there was no way I could dispute any evidence. And I just looked at her and said, what I'm talking. And then she said, we don't corporal punishment here in Kamane.
It's not allowed.
Not allowed. But so he's fired right now. Unless you decide to mete out corporal punishment to him. And then I remember Sister Sunshine, he just walked out of the room, banged him and left me with it. And my grandfather asked me the question, Indot, so from your sebenz, no food. It's getting much. Choose between education and go and work. For a moment, I paused there. And decision making, I started thinking very quickly. And I realized that if my future's going to be doomed here, so I better take short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah.
And I said, no, shy. And like they say, I could see him getting relieved.
Okay.
And stood up. I called the principal, says, give me a whipping. And they sweet me, met me, I cried. And the principal says, okay, so you promise that you're not going to be naughty again. I said, sure. But
that's how you were saved.
Think about it. Yeah, 17-year-old, I have to take a decision that would have been life-altering at that moment. So decision-making skill is so key. That is why I say to young people, the choices you make early in your life determine the quality of your life. If you make poor quality decisions, you're going to have a poor quality of life.
Wow.
If you make good quality decisions early in your life, you're going to have it. If I'd made that poor quality decision and started working, I would have been working at 17, I would have been in a factory, I wouldn't be sitting here
today. Wow.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't have the impact that God has given me the opportunity to do that. Because I would have been a laborer factory, I would have gone to Waiteville. And
exactly, you were close to Waiteville. In the East End. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the point. Decision making is key in leadership.
Yeah. You then, and fortuitously, you then move to tertiary. You go to the north.
Yeah.
You become active in politics.
Yeah.
you also become active in the student Christian movement.
Yes.
How did these two phenomena, for lack of a better word, influence the person that you are today?
As you know, then, I'm coming from now Kamane, Marion Hill. Marion Hill was a hotbed of political activism. The doctors' schools where Steve Biko used to be at that time was very close to us there. And so we go into university. TEFLO was highly charged during that time. I'm talking early 80s there. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a generation that has just passed us. Was a Hader Force, the Cyril Ramaphosa's, the Frank Chikanes, Laban Mabosos, and all those leaders of the Black Consciousness Movement. So we were very, very politically charged at that time. So SRC shaped my sense of fighting injustice. Wow. As a cause to say, just don't tolerate injustice. Mm-hmm. And it also taught me that leadership is about serving people, because very soon, when I assumed leadership in the SRC, I knew that I had to serve the whole student body of the time. And it stretched my leadership capacity, because all of a sudden, I mean, I'm a 20-year-old, 21-year-old chap. Now you've got to this whole student government. You've got to negotiate with the rectors and the vice chancellors, and if there's a strike, you've got to manage it, and you've got a budget to manage. So it taught me a lot there.
Yeah.
SCO, which was then called SCM, really helped me ground me spiritually.
Okay.
And it gave me a spiritual anchor to be able to persevere, to be able to know that when you're facing difficulties, you can call upon God to help you and the wisdom to go through the difficult and challenging times. And that has stood me in good stead, that even when you're facing a major crisis in life, you know that all things work together
for the good.
Somehow, you know, there'll be a way to escape the challenging. And that is comforting. So, in all my leadership, that is why I encourage people to have some kind of spiritual anchor.
Exactly, because I think that you talk about the moment you had about the passing of your grandfather, and how, in essence, a physical manifestation of anchoring was gone.
Yes.
And you described very successfully how you were gutted.
Yeah.
You were finished. I mean, you couldn't even follow the coffin. You just ran into a room and started wailing.
Yeah.
How did your spiritual grounding help you during those times?
In fact, that's why I'm eternally grateful, because my grandfather passed after I really had made a decision to accept Jesus Christ. I grew up in a Christian family, but at a certain point in your life,
you made
to make your own choice about whether do you follow this faith or not. You know. And when he passed on, these days we didn't understand what depression is, but I was thoroughly depressed. And in fact, I went down the alley. Because I realized that I actually lived for him. Because his encouragement, his pat on the shoulder, I looked up to him, and he always was very interested in my success. Every time when I passed, I would rush to him, show him my report, and now he's no longer there, And I thought to myself, what? Why am I leaving? Why am I even studying? And that's why I couldn't even just want to witness him disappearing in a grave and being buried. Just thank God you got wise people.
Yes, got you.
One of my gogos grabbed me and said, "Look, come, look. You
need closure.
Look, you need closure. You need to look. Now he's like, when that coffin goes down, you know how painful it is." And I looked at it, I was wailing, I was crying, but he said, let's just look, he's gone now. That's a reality. Right?
Wow.
And, but then I went back, then I remember that no. This is why, it's very important that you rely on God rather than on man, because so then I remember that, no, geez, there's a bigger, there's Christ in me now.
There's a bigger purpose.
There's a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And his was to lay a foundation.
Wow.
Then I went back to school.
Wow. And geez, I mean, that trajectory, that journey, very fascinating that you start working, you finish your education, you start working, you get married, you go through challenges like all, I suppose, people. But then something magical happens. You join Shell, you work at Shell, and then you decide to leave Shell.
Yeah.
And start your journey of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Something magnificent is born. It's called Excel Petroleum. And I think some of us who were alive during those days remember the branded petrol stations that were Excel. Tell us about the story about Excel. Where did it come from? Who was involved? I hear Brajomosono, Baba Evan Koza were also involved in that business. What was Excel and what was its story?
Yeah. First, Excel was born out of a real dream to challenge the status quo. You must remember, Excel comes after 1994, when we all, get our liberation. Nelson Mandela comes out, he inspires us, and then we get involved in transforming the country. And I remember then President Thabo Mbeki basically says, now we need to focus on economic transformation. So all of us now wants to transform the economy. And so it was born out of that. That was really the driver behind it. And obviously then a collective of very important people in life formed this big consortium, and I'm part of that. And then Dominic Sewell is currently the CEO of Balo World. We together from the management team that will actually operationalize this, and as part of this leadership and co-founding of this organization, and that was quite an exciting period.
Wow! I'm reading it and having witnessed it, during those days.
Yeah, having been at Shell in a big corporation, and then having risen very quickly in the ranks of that organization. When you're a regional manager at the young age of, in the early 30s, you really made it in the big corporation.
Exactly.
You already have got a corner office, you've got the secretaries, and then all of a sudden, you're gone. You take a big leap. And I realized, I always say to the young people, look before you jump, but I realized I jumped before I looked.
But isn't that the beauty of entrepreneurship and risk-taking? Yeah. Jump!
So we jumped and we went in there. But I tell you, I remember we were starting new offices and we're employing people. We stood up there. I remember standing and say, we will have 100 service stations by the turn of the century. You're talking about 1997, 1990, late 1996, 1997. This is by the turn of the century. You remember the millennium was a big deal. But by the turn of the century, it's like year 2000. And, you're speaking faith about it. That's why also as business people, I don't know how you're going to survive without faith. Because actually when you put a business plan, it's about the state of faith. So in 5 years' time, I will be making this revenue, I'll be making this profit, and I would have brought market share. I would have, that's what it is. So I stood there. And I remember, and we were doing two things. One, we were growing Excel, but at the same time transforming the industry. And I said two things. One was we'll have 100 service stations by the turn of the century, and 25% of this industry will be in black hands. And one journalist wrote this, says, Khadv has small petrol fumes.
What a pun.
But yeah, we were an entrepreneurial journey. We were very excited. We built that organization. Jeez. And Dominic, who actually was leading it at this time, very soon he left, and then I took over and ran the organization.
And your strength was marketing, but you ended up going into other areas as well, because you talk about your credit book, where you found that we're not getting money in, so I may as well just go in and become the accountant and make sure that money comes in. Tell us about that experience of advocate, or should I say former deputy justice Katlehong Musinike talks about the nail days, and he talks about sometimes it's important to stand next to the till to make sure that you know what's coming in and you know what's going out.
Yeah.
Tell us about running a business from that mindset as well.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Keep your hand on the till. Keep your hand on the till when you're a business person. So in that particular case, we were growing so fast.
Yeah.
We acquiring customers, and we're converting big customers. Customers that, for instance, a big customer that belonged to Shell, that supplied Padco bars come in, and then we win that customer. We win customers. I'm telling you, it's just private customers, let alone the state-owned enterprises. We clean those ones.
Wow.
Imperial, and then a lot of distributors swung and come to us. But our systems were not catching up with that growth. Okay. I'm talking administrative systems now, processes.
Yeah.
And they become vulnerable. And let me tell you, in business, there's always sources of criminals. And if they see the system, they play it, and they test it, and they say, they tested it, man. Mm. We gave this customer a good credit limit. So he was paying very well. And then all of a sudden, his credit limit goes up, and then he overshoots his credit limit because he's a good customer. The system don't pick it up.
You allow,
and before you know, this guy is owing us a lot of money, and being a startup company, but this big customer, and. Bang, when we want to now collect money, we realize this guy is not lying. And then he's self-liquidating. And then we want to go and foreclose him and find out he's registered this thing.
Trust.
And he owns nothing. So you can't go to his cars or anything like that. I realize. So it showed me that our credit control systems are actually weak. So I had to really focus on it, because now we're at the brink of bankruptcy. Brink of bankruptcy. And I didn't step down as a CEO, but I stopped running the CEO. I just became a credit control manager. and I actually collected money myself. And he said, give me this customer. He owes us how much? 1.5 million rand. Okay, this is the customer. I'm going to give me all the invoices, give me all the statements. I lend everything, 30 days, 45 days. When is it paid and all that? Okay, and give me delivery notes. Wow. And I would go to these big customers, and many of them were big distributors, and most of them were white owners of these companies who owning depots, big depots throughout the whole of Johannesburg and Krugersdorp. I remember walking in one of them at Tena, and I realized that this one I got to collect with unconventional ways.
You brought the Katlehong in you.
I employed a big rugby player who is big and tall, and he's an African young man, a very good man, actually. And I said, you accompany me when you go and collect money. You remember Lakasha? And we would enter into this big customer, and predominantly white guy. And I can't get in with my young man here. He's tall, he's big, he's huge. So the guy would say, sit down, I'll sit down. And he'll offer this guy, and this guy, no, I'll stand here. We're in the office, but stand like that. Then we'll argue about all the invoices, and then you know how people it is. All credit controllers on both sides of the fence are trained to create disputes, so that they don't pay. You're disputing this one? Let's put it aside. Let's dispute this, put this aside. This one's agree. This one you agree. So it means you owe him, let's say, 1.5, maybe you agree on 1 million. I said, no, I'm not leaving here until you pay.
You pay this. Wow.
He says, no. I said, I'm not leaving. And then they look at
the boy.
The guy's intimidated now. And then we'll argue about the 1 million. How much do you pay me now?
Yes.
And I'll argue, well, whatever amount, then says maybe I'll pay you 800,000, you know? And then I'll say, okay, fine. Now for that one.
Yeah, now.
Now. So sign the check now and make sure it doesn't bounce. So I had to leave with cash in my hand.
Wow.
And then I'll go to the next one. For almost 3-4 months, that's all I was doing, just collecting the cash. Because what kills business is that if you don't understand your working capital, your money is tied up with your debtors, and then you run out of cash, but your money is actually there with the debtors. You must make sure that your control system.
It's money in the bank. It's not money.
No, that's why I had to teach all my sales rep that sales is not a sale.
Yeah, until there's money in the bank.
Money in the bank. Wow. And you're not going to pay your commission until your money is in the bank. And I think that is a lesson every entrepreneur must learn.
Wow.
That you have to make sure that you collect your money. And if you don't, people will use you as a bank. They'll finance their own businesses through your money. And you'll go bust and they'll go strong.
Wow. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest lessons you can ever learn as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's money in. It's not just saying, I have money.
Yeah.
It's money in.
Yeah.
What was Excel's role in the psyche of black business at the time? Because, I mean, here was a very successful story. Here was a company owned by black people post-1994. I mean, one of the earliest black-owned. I mean, I'm not talking about a stake in a white business.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about 25%. Yeah. I'm talking about 100, close to 80 plus stake in a business by black people. Yet it was an epitome of excellence. What was its role in the psyche of black?
It was an important psyche because I always tell a story because we just came after Pepsi collapsed. If you
I remember the story of Pepsi, Baba Kesha, Tembu, Japan.
Yes.
I remember that.
And the collapse of Pepsi was demoralized black people. And I remember also I had a pain in my heart, especially when it was announced. And I always tell this story about sitting in my lounge watching TV, and it was then TV1, TV2. TV1 was Zulu, so the very good presenter there was Bomile. So
cool.
Yeah, may her soul rest in peace. And she used to speak good Zulu.
Yes.
So her headlines that day was it Inkampani nkulu wadaba mnyama iPepsi. Iwi. Yo. Wow. And it was just starting, and I realized, it hit me here, and I realized one day Smongile will read Inkampani nkulu Excel. I said, Smongile is never going to read that statement again. So the psyche was that we walked in, and actually the narrative we had to change very quickly was that black excellence is not aspirational. Okay. It is achievable.
Yes.
That's the message.
Yes, that's the message.
It is achievable. And then we actually had to, for us, Excel was not really only a business, but it was a mission which was basically say we will not fail. We have to succeed for the sake of the next generation. We have to inspire the next generation and change the narrative that black people are just passengers or are spectators, and also the whole idea of just being, being at the right place at the right time and get a stake there. We are we're running an excellent operation, and we succeed purely on running a business on quality, service, and pricing. Yeah. And no underhand, no corruption, nothing. And that was really the message of us. So in the psyche, it actually gave permission to lots of entrepreneurs. I see them coming now, and I said, thank God, particularly in our industry.
In the oil energy sector,
In the sector where, black people were not there. And in fact, before that, people who tried couldn't succeed because people thought, Karachi Andramnyama, petrol yakona, in a parafino. or in a man. So we changed that mindset.
Yeah, no.
Trust that people had on our brain was unbelievable. And then it just...
Yes. Then you sell Excel. Oh man, you sell what? Wasn't that betrayal of the black business cause? You know, we sit in 2025 today.
Yeah,
we're still hunkering.
Yeah.
For successful star black businesses that emerge out of this country. Why sell?
Yeah, it's a very... I always agonize about that question. But, business is about how do you unlock value at a certain point.
Okay.
Right? And then it reaches a stage where we realize that we are growing quite well. But within 7 years, this was miraculous, actually.
Wow.
We had just under 200 service stations. But in order for a business to succeed you have to have a full value chain. You have to have depots, you have to have a refinery, and you had to move into that space. So very quickly in order to sustain yourself. And then the capital requirements, which is a serious constraint in any business, to build a depot and build a refinery is massive.
Wow.
So what do you want to do?
Big money.
What do you do that? You've got to go into some kind of a partnership. So moving with Sasol was a strategic partnership and a strategic move that we had to do. Otherwise, we would have lost the value that we already created. And so it was not a betrayal. It was an evolution.
Evolution. I see.
Of business. And when you're a business person, you have to take tough decisions, difficult decisions, the decisions that are aimed at preserving value. You can't be sentimental and be attached to the business itself. You say what value is.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we unlock so much value that most of us was able to reinvest in other ventures.
Yeah, so true.
And you're talking ULP. For me, it gave me an opportunity to reinvest in my deeper calling.
Wow. and we're going there.
Yeah.
We're going there.
Yeah.
We're going there. But just as we conclude on your role in the energy sector, what then do you think, what is the current state of play with black players in the energy, should I say petroleum space?
Yeah.
What is the lay of the land now?
We've made significant progress, but not enough.
Okay.
I think if you think about it, what we did there, we established Excel, we changed legislation. So, in the past, one of the biggest legislation constraint in the petroleum sector is that the only people who had the right to build service stations were the multinationals, the Shells, the BPs, only. And they'd ingrained that in the legislation. Yeah. So the first thing in order to do transformation, and that's why I advise people, in any industry, there's legislation that you need to deal with, regulations you need to deal with. Because Pumzile Mlambonguga, our minister, was supporting us, but we had to go to her and say, there, ingrained in the legislation, let's change this law, and we changed the law. That's very important when you're doing transformation. Secondly, we saw most of the oil companies, even today, they've got 25% black ownership. Yeah. And SAPIA, which was then the Petroleum Industry Association, was white and male.
Okay.
Leaders. Right now, if you look at it, Jesus, black-owned, the organizations run by black people, and especially where we have not made significant progress is women participation.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really committed to that now.
Yeah.
Even now, every year ULP runs a Women in Energy. On the 6th of September, we'll be running it again.
Yeah.
Because we have to crack this one. Although there's certain women that have really made it, the Priscillas of this world, now is Diallo running BP. But the groundswell of women participation is a big problem.
Wow.
And another area is if we kept Excel, we should have created a a black industrialist. That would be the creative black Sasso, like what Victor Sekis has done in competing with Deloitte and PwC and creating SMG.
Yeah.
We do need to have that. And I'm hoping that our inspiration, that the younger generation
will pick it up,
do that and build something like that. But if you give me, the progress has been made, but there's areas that needs to be, particularly on the supply chain also.
Yeah. Wow.
We need to focus on that, making sure that the supply chain is built. Is a lot of black entrepreneurs come in there, and particularly women.
You talk leadership, and for you, when you talk leadership, it's like you touch, your chest, and because you actually in your book you describe leadership development as your North Star. Mm-hmm. Tell us about ULP. Where does it come from? I mean, I know it's an acronym for Unleashing Leadership Potential. Where does it come from?
The story of ULP is almost a bush experience of Moses, if you talk about it. Because when we were attending a leadership strategic session with my energy leadership facilitated by one of these leading consulting firms, I think it was a 3 or 4 day session. But I think one of the afternoon, she said, you go out, sit under the bush somewhere, and just reflect when you've retired. What would you want to do? And sitting under that bush, I just almost literally download of these 3 words, unleashing leadership potential. Wow. Bam, in my spirit. And I felt, wow, this is what I want to do. In fact, if I were to put it in my spiritual language, I says, this is what God wants done. And then I started writing, how it should, and I actually realized that just throughout my life, I've been involved in lots of pockets. We started AMEF, we started a number of initiatives. When I was a young person, we started a youth club in Katlehong called KO, and it's all been in leadership. And then all of a sudden I realized I need to systematize this, consolidate it. And I wrote it down, and we went back to the plenary. We shared with others, all the executives, they have written what they want to do. Some of them had just basically wanted, I'm going to play golf, and I'm going to go play, and I'll build my house in Mossel Bay, and all that kind of thing. And I was sort of the only one who was really saying, I'm going to get things, I'm going to focus on leadership. But everybody helped me to construct the concept. And then I didn't even want to do a business plan. I just went and implemented it. Wow. Started it at home. Wow. There was about 5 young people.
You were mentoring.
And I'm mentoring them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just grew. Wow. And then...
you had to find a space now.
Yeah, because my wife was chasing us out now. Because
these
young people, they go to the fridges and open. So... yeah, with the value that we've created from Excel, one was able to buy that
property.
Yeah, that property, and then build Excel, and it's just amazing.
I've attended ULP events. Yeah. Oh my God, I've never seen so many people in one room. and these are influential people. These are upcoming professionals. These are entrepreneurs. These are people in the ministry. This is everyone, and the speakers panel is the who's who. Yeah. Black business, and also I read you had a reason why you also brought you brought in speakers from all communities, but you were specific about black speakers because some of these people who are in the audience have to see themselves. Tell us about that.
That was important. I mean, we started ULP 2010, 2010 at Maho. That was a time where, if I were to look at the history of our country, Mandela helped us lead into liberation struggle. Thabo Mbeki pushes us out of government. He says that don't do business with government. Go and
do business.
Go and do real business. And then we go there. And we work We build business, the Sipon courses of this world. He builds at Zaro. We're building Excel. The guys in IT, Kennedy Pongane, we're building.
Wow.
And that become the role model. Yeah. And obviously there are other people who are actually getting big deals, and people started criticizing everything and say this is, usual suspects.
Yeah.
But we were not usual suspects. We were building businesses.
Yeah.
We were black business. I always call it black business, not be. But then Pulukwana happened 2008.
Yeah.
That was and I'm sorry, but I could call it a tragic moment in our history.
Yeah.
And then there's a new type of business people emerges. Who are what we call entrepreneurs. And all you needed was to be at the right place at the right time, to be connected, and then corruption has always been there in South Africa, but then it becomes brazen.
It becomes the form of doing business now.
So all these young people now start looking at these entrepreneurs. One moment the guy is poor, the next moment he's rich. And then he's driving a Range Rover. And we're talking about hard works, building businesses.
Yeah.
And then, I remember some of the Adbab Khatevel, and they call my CV. They was ban, And I realized, no, we have to save the nation, from producing easy victory and destroying the values that are timeless: hard work, honesty, integrity. Those values steady. So that's why we started ELP.
Wow.
And then we selected every person who comes to ELP is vetted, is selected.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to show them that it is possible to be successful.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with driving a nice car, nothing wrong with them, but make sure that you can sleep at night.
In fact, you spoke.
And then that's why we've now, thank God, you got that book there, Leadership Unleashed.
Yeah.
Because all those people spoke at ELP.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And there's volume 1.
That's volume 1. There's more volumes coming.
Oh, there's volume 2 is already on it there. And volume 2 will have Sim Shabalala, will have.
Wow.
And in fact, over 100 of these people spoke at ELP.
Wow.
But one of the reasons why we actually did it in that place is I wanted to make it accessible. Because I could have run these things at the Sentinel Hotel or convention and charge 5,000 rand. And people could have come there.
Yeah.
But I wanted it accessible. So we ran them at that humble venue of ours there, and so that we can be able to allow people to come. And we had actually every week we had 2 taxis, sometimes just coming from the rural, not rural, from a squatter camp of windmill.
Coming to this talk.
Yeah. And I'm so pleased now to see these young people, just to take them out of the informal settlement of windmill to come and shake hands with rural causes. You know what it means, man.
It's huge.
It's huge. I mean, so many of those young people have actually come out from that informal settlement and are becoming extremely successul.
You have sort of placed ethics and morality at the heart of what you do at ULP, because I think also you recognize the fact that the narrative in the country is just going south, corruption and all. What role does morality and ethics play in business? I mean,
it's critical. It's critical. I mean, we've got right now in our country, I mean, the legacy of that time we've got this crisis of character. Crisis of character in terms of leadership. And that's why we see all those scandals, the Zondo Commission and now we've got other commissions coming up. It's really, really crisis of character. So we need to have a North Star of moral compass. We need to develop ethical and moral leaders that will actually lead us out of this morass which we are in. I'm telling you, corruption is a cancer.
It's everything.
it's the whole body politic of the society, and we have to uproot it. And all of us must play a role. First, obviously, the law enforcement must arrest people and put them in jail.
Yeah.
And then some of us must be on the preventative side. Just make sure that these young people don't go into
that space.
So that's why ELP is playing on the preventative side and making sure that we through ELP we develop conscientious leaders, leaders who are selfless, leaders who know leadership is about servanthood, leadership who are passionate to make this world a little bit better, a little better.
You are now also producing MBAs and top leaders in business through Wits Business School.
Yeah.
How is that going?
It's going extremely well, man. And in fact, when I finished my corporate life, Wits called me and said, "Look, can you come and help turn around the business school?"
Yeah.
Because somehow there was wisdom that maybe business school needs to be led by a business person. Obviously, I'm who understand academics. And that was when that call came, I thought about it, reflected, and I realized, wow, it's actually ELP at the national and international level. So I'm in line with my purpose, but I'm very careful about my purpose, you know.
Yeah, wow.
And I want to stick to it. So whatever decision I make, it almost must be in line with my purpose.
Yeah.
You know? And so, wow, it became a challenge. Everybody said, well, why are you doing this after you had such a great career in business, and you're gonna wreck your reputation when you go there. And but I just had the sense that this is in line with my purpose.
Wow!
Now it's actually taking people who are high capacity individuals, because once you reach that stage of being an MBA, you're high capacity. So if I can just instill two things: one, consciousness of ethical and be competent. And then have a sense of purpose and a passion to solve some of the major ills that we have in our country: poverty, unemployment. Locate you as a young leader into the sustainable goals. And then I challenge you to say, choose one of them in the 17 and then dedicate your whole professional life and deliver that. That would be my contribution for a better society.
Wow.
So that the Wits is giving me that platform. Other than turning it around, I mean, in terms of now we push through the accreditation programs. We've got the global accreditations.
Wow, nice.
The enrollments has gone up.
Yeah.
The brand positioning is also
solid.
And it's now seen as a thought leadership. The convening power which we have now, and actually convert the school not just to be an academic, doing the falls, but playing a role in society, dealing with energy issues. We run gas, we're running energy conferences. We're participating in the dialogue process now to make sure we're participating. Dialogue. Yeah, we're participating in B20. Yeah. We're very much in G20. All those forums. So the university, the business school, is becoming now what it should be to make an impact in society.
Wow.
And then what do you have? You've got this huge capacity of PhD, MBA. You can bring that capacity.
Put them together.
And I'm hoping one of my passion is also to help build state capacity. Using
these institutions.
Wow.
Thank you, Bob Radebe. Thank you so much. You and I can stay and talk more about these issues, but thank you for joining us. And we wish you, and we wish ULP, we wish the work you do at Wits, and maybe just as you conclude, family for you is key.
Oh yes,
family is key. As part of the parting shot for this interview, tell us how family plays an important role, especially in building a solid personality or run solid institutions.
Family is key and sacred, and I believe in the sanctity of marriage, so it's very important. So I'm married for 40 years with one wife, and that's important to say that. My wife, I and I are a team. My wife knows when she's got to be behind me, and she knows when she needs to be along behind me pushing. She knows when she needs to be alongside with me, holding my hand, and says, "Come on, let's go. We're gonna go." And she knows that sometimes she needs to be in front and lead. That's important because sometimes we just simply say it's behind a successful man. And there's a woman. No. Mine is on all sides. Behind, sideways,
And up front.
in front.
Yeah.
And that is so important to liberate your wife to play that role. Secondly, my wife built our home. Men build a house at our home. And it became a haven when you are facing the battering, the challenges, and you've been bruised by life in business. Life is rough in business. You go negotiate with I used to look up the Middle East, you come back, you go to Nigeria, you come back, you battered. You win deals, you lose deals, and when you come home, you find that you can actually take off your shoes, and then And then thirdly, you need somebody who will completely humble yourself. Here you go. My wife tells me, "Hey, pick up your socks. There's no professor in this house." And you need somebody who will humble you. Because sometimes when you've got this big name out there, it goes into your head. And then the Bible says pride comes before the fall. And you're just about to fall.
Yes.
So you need somebody to humble you. And then she does that. And then obviously she made a very important decision and it was a choice. She was a very bright person. She was already rising in her corporate life, and she was already in middle management with Old Mutual. But then the kids were growing. And then we realized, there's danger here. You got young girls here, when they're reaching that teenage stage. She realized, no, I've got to get in Bama. And she did a good job.
Wow.
Picking them up, dropping them up, making sure she helped them navigate very dangerous teenage stage.
Yeah.
And then by now they're all adults.
Wow.
And they've done very well. We're very proud of them. So I'm eternally grateful to her.
Wow.
Family is very,
very important. Yeah. Baba Khadv, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Colleagues, friends, thank you for joining us for this episode. As we say, like, share, subscribe. See you soon. Salute.